Hello people, this is Sonali, the Melodramatic Bookworm. If you've been here before, welcome back. And if you're new to my channel, welcome to the Melodramatic Bookworm family. Also welcome to the third episode of Why Are Some Books This Bad? And I haven't gotten the answer yet. And I figured maybe I should keep looking for the answers to that question because we need them. We need to know why. Why? But theatrics aside, I'm here to share with you the nuggets of beautiful wisdom that I got from a book that I read in, I think it was September or October, I don't remember. And if I could, I would forget every little thing about this book. But I can't. Or maybe my memory will help me over time. Because my memory is so beautiful, isn't it? So maybe that's going to come in to play sometime and it's going to help me. So I'm here to share with you the beautiful pearls of wisdom and beauty that are in this book. So let's get started and let me just react to these beauties. Okay, so we ended episode 2 on page 59. So now it's on 60. R was standing at the bus stand when she heard the shouts and cheers of young boys at a distance. She strained her eyes and looked at the direction of the noise. She saw a man wearing a black dress and a black hat on top of a white horse and riding slowly towards the bus stand. With the entourage, is that pronounced that way? I don't know, of the street boys behind him. The man came nearer. And then he took off his hat and threw the hat towards R. Oh my god, so romantic. R was dumbfounded to see it was none other than G. Feroz Khan has defeated Rajnikant after all. She quickly clicked his photograph on her mobile phone. And I'm not going to say anything else other than the comment that I left here. And it says, rubs face in frustration. And I feel that in my soul even now, even ages after reading this book. Okay, and this next part that I'm going to read out is completely no, because G is treating R as if she were dumb, and that is not sitting right with me. R, sometimes you just know the right person when you meet her. You are the right person for me. I would be delighted if you would marry me. G proposed in as romantic a manner he could. Wow. Oh my god. What? Marriage? Gee, I hardly know you. R was shocked. This fellow, he goes on this philosophical, spiritual, whatever nonsense you can call it. He goes on this tangent which is completely unnecessary, and it's rather, what do you call? I can't remember the word because I forgot every single bit of my vocabulary when I read this book. It's happening even now. I'm losing my brain cell by cell. Okay, so the philosophical part is, who can know what lies inside the inner peels of an onion? We have to peel our layers together. Are you even understanding what you're saying? There are innuendos and then there is this innuendo. We have the rest of our lives to know each other. G patiently explained, like she's a dumb fool. No, she doesn't know what's good for her. She doesn't know what life is. You have to go and explain everything to her. No, that's why you have to patiently explain stuff to her, because women are dumb. That's what you've been saying in this whole book so far. Okay, now I'm going on to a rant which I shouldn't. I need to calm down. He gave all this crap and then look at this woman, stupid woman. Not technically not stupid woman, because the author is a guy and he is writing a woman, I think, like he would like a woman to be. Can we make that assumption? So this, what she's saying is, yes, sure. G, give me some time to think, please. R requested. Request. Really? Request? The next situation. Hi R, have you thought over it? G was punctual. Okay. and asked while approaching R from behind the bus stand. Asked while approaching from behind the bus stand? What aesthetic are you planning for this whole book? Whatever you planned, it just went down right straight like this drop. And look at R's response also. So, oh hi G. I can literally see my frustration in that comment that I wrote here, which I'm not going to say. Oh hi G. Yes, but I have some tasks for you. If you are interested, that is. R was prepared this time. One talent show this is becoming with talentless people. What am I going to do with this? You remember that onion peeling comment? Like, who can know what lies inside the inner peels of an onion? Look at what R is saying. Well, you know, we can peel our layers for the rest of our lives, but can you for now repair the peeling of the layers of paint and plasters on the walls of our tower, wearing the same black dress, the one you wore while riding the horse of Feroz Khan? R challenged G. इस चक्कर में no, she is getting her work done by this fellow, and apparently if he does that well, she is going to go marry him. What logic? What? No logic at all. Logic is dead. It does not exist. No, there is no logic whatsoever. No, absolutely not. I'm losing it and I can feel it and I don't know what to do about it. Look at what this fellow says also and what he's feeling also. That's all. Consider it done. We'll see you later in the evening. G wanted to waste no time. G didn't. I don't even want to go into the semantics of that sentence. Next is so many gender roles in this next part. Stereotypical gender roles. And I'm like, why? She kept looking at G with a slight sense of guilt. Then why are you making him do this? He has to hang from top and paint your building. Is that your sense of... Okay, never mind. He was a man of his words. A man who could double as a handyman in the house. A man who could compromise on his ego to make his woman happy. Such a great quality, that is compromising on ego to make a woman happy. Any woman would be happy to find a man like this. No, I don't even know where to start with this. But let's not go into that, because I'm going to go on a whole ass tangent because of this particular part that I just read out. So let's just keep it aside for the moment and never go back to it. Not for the moment, let's just keep it aside. Next is like some sort of business transaction these people have done, and just listen to this and you'll know what I'm talking about. Just one question, G. Suppose your mother and I were hanging from the top of our tower and you could save only one of them. Who would it be? Like, you're literally putting a mom-in-law and a daughter-in-law on either sides. Like, the whole Indian man stuck between his mom and his wife kind of stereotype is there, no? You're just playing on that. You're just bringing it back, and I hate it. Do not do that. My mother, I think. I can get another girl in my life, but not another mother. G replied sincerely. This fellow is answering also. R sighed deeply. She knew any woman would want such blunt honesty and truth from her man. She was just not sure if she would want such a man. Why are you entertaining the thought in that case? Just let him go, say no and move forward. I mean, not that he would listen, because that's another gender stereotype right there. If he's good looking and if he wears Feroz Khan's cape and superhero dress, then he's got to be a good man. He's got to be a good catch man. What? She was sure, though, that G would be devastated if she refused to marry him. That's exactly... Marry him? Yeah, marry him. That's exactly what I was just saying, right? How could she enjoy the rest of her life knowing that she had spoiled the life of a good man who was willing to go to any extent to marry her? What? Why are you carrying the guilt? If you like him, marry him. If you don't like him, don't marry him. Do not carry that guilt. Like, why is the author putting the guilt of this, of a woman choosing her own happiness, her own decisions on the woman? He asked, she said no, end of matter. That man, if he is willing to play on the ego and willing to put his ego aside in order to make the woman happy, then he should be sensible enough to let it go if she says, no, I don't want to marry you. It's as simple as that. You are saying one thing and then in the next paragraph you are going and you are reinforcing the same stereotype. Do not do that. You are contradicting yourself. Can't you see it? See, it's like so easy to see. R was a good woman with a good heart. Ayo, such angel much. Wow, man. I don't. The goodness of her heart weighed marginally higher than the romance in her heart. So basically, if you're a good person, you should marry the first guy who comes and asks you to marry him. Oh, what would have happened to the world if this had happened, dude? If a guy comes and asks you things, you need to say yes, it seems. This fellow is saying. Where does he get these ideas from? Who instilled these in your head? Please tell me. She looked at G and said, G, and this is the business transaction part, see. Please start the arrangements for our marriage. Not just for the wedding, for their marriage. He has to start. What will she sit and do? File nails, gossip. Please start arrangements for her marriage. What? R meets her G's friend J, which from the earlier chapters you could remember. I mean, I wouldn't blame anyone for not remembering anyone in this book. So R greeted J with folded hands. Husband's friend, no. So she has to be all sanskari wife and all that. Oh, holy. Because I remember exactly this. I was talking to a friend, a Bookstagram friend about this, and we both cringed so hard at this. R and G had consummated their marriage on the first night after marriage. First night after wedding hota hai. And that is not even the problem that's with this sentence. Okay, even if you think that there is no problem with this sentence, there's more coming. Hold on. I need patience, man. God. If you exist, give me patience. It was painful for R and did not involve any candle lights beside the bed or aromatic flavors in the air. She gradually got used to the customary weekly copulation sessions. Wait, what? I mean, weekly copulation? Really? You can be that ew about it? The next part is even worse. She would have wanted them to be lovemaking sessions, but simple copulation was fine too. Simple, eh? Just G did satisfy her without fail. Oh, manly macho. You know, he satisfied her and he is... So she's going to be okay with whatever is happening. Perfect. How many women could claim to get that in India? Stop. This last part of this part is the absolute... I mean, I can't even compare it and say that it's the absolute worst, because this whole thing is one big dumpster fire, just like 2020. Anyway, even during his preparations for the examinations, even during that, okay, he's so much weight on his shoulders. G never missed the weekly copulation sessions. Oh my god! What a great husband! Suddenly they're like, just as G and R sat down for dinner randomly, okay, they sat down for dinner, we don't even know what day it is, and I was like, when? 1 day later, 1 month later, 50 years later, when? That's exactly my comment here. And then next, sir, RK has crossed all limits this time. He has kidnapped the star actress Rue while she was holidaying in Goa. Okay, oh, so we are 1 chapter down, okay? Now we are on chapter 12. I don't know why I'm talking like that, I'm really sorry. My name is RK. R means compassion, but I have none. So don't mess with me, Madam Rue. I mean, who gets these ideas, right? Like, it's like some crass B-grade 90s superhero movie. Like the Spider-Man, तूने चुराया मेरे दिल का चैन, something like that. And one living friend in a white and black male. Okay. And one living friend in a white and black male falcon. One friend would have been enough if it said living, you needn't say. See, technically by default, if you have a friend, it means they are living, they are alive, they are breathing. And then male falcon. Like in any other situation, I would have been like, okay, the author is just telling us the gender of the falcon. But here, given what all we have seen across the book, it's just, he wants to give that feeling, okay, this man has a male falcon, which improves his macho image, his masculinity. And I'm like, okay, I don't need it. Bye. One more stereotype. The falcon was a gift from an Afghan trader he had helped a few years back. Of course he did. Of course it was. You see falcon, you think Afghan. Because RK loved to touch the soft white feathers which covered the breast of the falcon. See, the men in this book, no, they are not even leaving animals. Molesting them, body shaming animals also. Like what is this? He called the falcon Buzz. So original, my man. How did you even come up with such a beautiful name? How? I mean, it is, oh my god, nobody has ever thought about it. You call a falcon Buzz. Oh my god. Oh. Is this okay? Yeah, I'm just stretching my feet because I need it. This RK fellow has a mother, but I feel like he completely forgot about her when he's talking here. The rest of the money he would spend in giving charities in the name of his mother, which is a pretty decent thing to do, and I like it. But look at this next one. And making sure he and Baz were well fed. Mother का क्या होगा कालिया? उनको भूल गया? उनके नाम पे पैसे दे रहा है? And उनको ही भूल गया? You're not going to feed her. You're not going to take care of her. What? Why? RK had a penchant for making flamboyant but relevant statements at every occasion he could. Somewhere deep inside, he felt that he owed this to the famous poet who shared his name. Good God, I'm not even going to go into that because I'm fine. I am fine. Nothing's that matter with me. I am fine. RK was a tall, well-built man and had short, thick, brownish hair and a light brown colored permanent stubble. How do you have a permanent stubble? How do you have a permanent stubble? Please tell us. And I've written here also how do you have a permanent stubble? Tell. Baz and his mother would together make the most delicious and nutritious health drink for RK. Baz would go and catch a snake whose blood would be drained by RK, which would then be mixed with goat milk that RK's mother would try and get from the local shepherds in the territory. He would drink this in one gulp and then announce, I am as innocent as the goat to my mother and as dangerous as a snake to the wrongdoers. Oh my god. Proper line from Salman Khan movie this is. I am as innocent as goat to my mother and as dangerous. And what sort of a stupid recipe is that? Delicious and nutritious health drink at the blood of a snake mixed with milk of a goat. What? And then after all this, after he says this, his mother goes, Hi mera ladla. RK had first come in the eyes of those concerned. How? The question is how. His next conversation is one lame ass conversation. See? That fellow also. Okay. Sir, I am RK and I will be your gynecologist. RK told the surprise builder. It starts off on, I don't even want to, measure this on the lame quotient. What do you mean? The builder's voice was trembling with anger. Sir, your land in Navi Mumbai has been created and conceived by you. But someone is making problems for you in the delivery of value from this land. Delivery. He's using all these terms. I will make sure I release the land and give it back to its rightful parents. RK said philosophically. And how will you do it? Sir, a simple surgery would be enough. But the cost of the surgery will be 5 crores. Done, but the payment will only be after the delivery. RK immediately went to the... there's no context also here. RK immediately went to the chawl where the Don's brother and his family lived. He put on a mask, opened the door of the small house of the family and started to shoot indiscriminately. That is how you shoot indiscriminately. Have you learnt anything of value? No. His bullets hit and killed an old lady in the house and a young man. RK fled and left the city. Fled the city, you can say. That's enough. Fled and left the city. बोलने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. He did nothing for a week except telling his mother sometimes, Amma, if you live near the latrine, then you have to smell the shit too. So philosophy much. Wow. Bhai, the murder was carried out by a hitman hired by the builder's brother who wanted you and the builder to fight while he took over the possession of the land. RK did not wink and he stared straight into the eyes of the Don's brother. Within a couple of days, the Don's brother had ruthlessly cut the builder's brother's throat. You're seeing the connection from where to where it's going. With a sword. At a public cricket ground where the builder's brother had gone to peddle his drugs to the innocent and budding cricketers. Innocent budding cricketers, this fellow is spoiling. RK did not care about the 5 crores he had given from his own share to execute this assignment. Oh, nice fellow. Such a benevolent fellow. He is doing so much for the society. Ha ha ha. Anyway, he told his mother that night, Amma, I have just distributed 1 rupee worth chocolates to 5 crore innocent children in this country. What will they do with that? Does not make sense. That's not how you help children. Rue was swimming in the waters of the ocean when RK, wearing an underwater oxygen mask, had pulled her under. Like, there's absolutely no connection, no context, nothing. Why was Rue swimming in the ocean? From where did RK come? Why did he kidnap her? Okay, I think we'll find out. I don't even remember. He put a spare mask on her face. So considerate. He had a spare mask in his pocket and he put it on her face. Wow. And then there was a chopper waiting at the island which flew RK and Rue to the old dilapidated log house in the jungle near an open field where the chopper had landed before flying away. It flew away like a bird. The next part, it feels like the author has an issue with actresses of today and he has put that into words, his problem into words. It's not the man's problem, right? It's not like the man is making people do stuff. Patriarchy has done this whole thing where you are asking the actresses to show skin so that you can find male audiences and hold them, because that's what's more important, right? Male audiences are important, female audiences are just like it's chiclet, let it go type. And this one, it made me so angry. My blood boiled as I read it. Even now when I realized what exactly this was, I'm like, no Baba, no, please don't. Why do you actresses of today love to show so much skin on screen? Wait, that's an interesting tongue twister. Show so much skin on screen. Can you quickly repeat those words 5 times, Rue? RK had no real friends to play games. First of all, he asks a dumb, stupid ass, horrible question. She loves showing skin on screen. तुम्हारा क्या problem है? You close your eyes. You control yourself. Who are you to judge her? Yes, sure. Show so much skin on screen. Show so much screen. Rue tried earnestly, but RK interrupted him. Like, you see him only everywhere. You see the male pronouns only everywhere. Everyone. You write a book about men. You write a book about a world in which there are only men, and see how fast that can go downhill. RK interrupted him and said she had lost the game. Wow. Now you need a... Since there's a game loss involved, there has to be a she involved. No. And that he won. This lady is explaining apparently. Sir, it's all about competition. If others expose and the audience likes it, then we will have to do it too. Otherwise we get left behind. Rue said truthfully. Technically that is true. She did say it truthfully. So it's like when others jump into a well, you will jump into? Why don't you just wait outside the well and let so many people jump into the well that the level of water automatically comes to your level to drink? She'll die by that time. Rue just said, but sir, I don't drink the water from the well. Oh, shut up. That's why you're an actress. Really? Imbecile. RK walked Rue to a nearby village early next morning and asked a villager to take her to the city. What the absolute hell, dude? What kind of a creature are you? And you have no right whatsoever to say that I am doing this for the good of children when you do shit like this. You kidnap her, you get the ransom, and then you are saying that you left her in a random village and asked a villager to take her home. You're not a good person. Do not be under that illusion. It's just an illusion. You're just not seeing it. We are now on page 73 and there's no stupidity here. So now on to page 74, where there is one incident in which RK is trying to kill someone who is living in a building that he can see from his place. No, wait, he reserves a room at a 5-star hotel opposite the minister's house, and now he has to try and kill that minister. And look at how he goes about it. On the fateful day. It's not fateful because it's not fateful for RK. It's fateful for the minister, and you're telling this from RK's perspective, so you don't say fateful day. Early in the morning, RK opened the window of his room and put the tip of a plastic bag in the beaks of Buzz. Tip of plastic bag in the beaks of Buzz. Buzz took his flight and reached the minister's penthouse within a minute. He's fast, he's male falcon, no? He's going to be fast. I said, even the minute is going to reach. What are you talking about? He hovered there for a while and accurately judged the position of his target. Buzz, a male falcon, did all this. I'm reminding you again and again because that's important. He then let loose the plastic bag, which fell down and landed directly on the face of the minister, who was resting on a lounger next to the swimming pool. Since the male falcon absolutely accurately judged the position and he let loose, it obviously fell directly onto the face of the minister. And next what's going to happen, listen, because this is the best part of this part, okay? The plastic bag opened and an angry and highly poisonous king cobra emerged from the bag. This is his perfect plan. Emerged from the bag, raising its hood in full glory. It hissed a few times and then wrapping the minister's face, it bit the minister's head. Wrapping the minister's face, it bit the minister's head. How? The skull here, I don't think it could have done that, but I don't know because I have never been bitten by a snake. So maybe injecting all its poison when it bit the minister's head. The minister was dead within minutes. Of course he was. It was so accurately done that he obviously breathed his last within minutes. That's all. Buzz shrieked out in victory and returned to the open arms of RK. Come, my male falcon. You did everything so accurately. I'm so proud of you. Especially since I male, you male. We have perfect plan and perfect execution. RK patted Buzz gently and said, those who have poison in their heads eventually die of too much poison only in their heads. Babu, why are you doing this to me? Why did you do this to me? No, but you know what? You are blameless. Me, even after knowing that this book is like this, I picked it up and I'm still doing this series. No. RK got paid very handsomely for the assignment, man. And he decided to have a rare celebration at the restaurant of the hotel he was staying at all these days. Do one thing, no? Me gone. Then he's sitting at this restaurant and there's this Punjabi businessman entertaining guests. He was quite loud and this was irritating everybody around. The Punjabi businessman, he's repeating Punjabi businessman everywhere, like start to end of this chapter or of this incident. This Punjabi businessman is talking to a waitress in a very bad manner. She dropped a plate of sushi and this fellow is going full tilt on her. And the waiter starts to cry and runs away from the table. And this RK fellow, he goes there and he's like, Sir, you know you could have got more food at no additional cost, RK said, walking over to the businessman's table. Yes, and you know you can get a kick in your ass for no additional cost. The businessman sniped and then laughed with his group. This is the kind of people I like to... No. RK rubbed his head with his right hand and took out his pistol from his hips with the left. Hips पे कौन लगाता है? At least a pocket or holster. Something कहीं तो रखा होगा. He kept the gun on the table. The men in the group immediately hushed up. Guests at other tables too became silent too. Guests at other tables too became silent too and stared. Wow. Poetry. This is poetry. Sir, since you want the food so much, I have an idea for you. And what an idea, Sir Ji. Like he has to use this, no, jingle type of thing. You are going to take a plate full of every dish in the salad, main course and dessert section at this buffet. And then eat it all by yourself. The Punjabi businessman knew he was in trouble and started to panic. You have to say Punjabi businessman everywhere, kya? What is your affiliate? No, what do you call it? What is your... I remembered the word. What is your obsession with mentioning that the businessman is Punjabi? And this fellow is like, the businessman is like, sir, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I have diabetes and I cannot eat all this food. I have 2 young children, sir. The businessman begged. Oh, I'm so sorry. I did not know you had diabetes. I should have guessed though. Someone who could speak so sweetly had to have diabetes as the sugar oozes from every pore. Good one, na? He's telling himself. RK liked the analogy a lot. Is this self-praise really necessary at every point in your characters, whatever it is, whatever you want to call this? You're not developing your character. You're just putting a bunch of stupid stuff in there and then calling it his character development. It's not that. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The businessman thought he had been forgiven after all. Why, dude? Why? Why are you doing this? And then look at this guy's self-praise to such a high level. He's like, after all, I am the compassionate RK. The businessman started to cry, it seems, as he heard RK's name. Very nice. Why would you do that, dude? Like, be a good person, no? Irrespective of who is, what do you call it? Why am I forgetting words? Irrespective of if people threaten you or not. Yes, that's the thing. RK waited patiently at the side of the table as the man gorged on the food reluctantly. If he is gorging, how is it reluctant? Please, someone help. RK laughed for more than a minute. Time also you have to tell. Holding his stomach with his hands. He looked at the Punjabi businessman. There he goes again. Thought for a few seconds and then announced loudly. Because he's RK, no? He has to announce things. He doesn't say things. He announces things. Those who laugh the loudest in good times are most afraid of bad times. And those who fart the loudest after a heavy meal are most afraid of constipation. Such insights, no? So many insights this fellow is giving. Everybody in the restaurant clapped thunderously. RK bowed down humbly. This fellow is nothing but humble. Don't use humble in this fellow's context. Do not. Patted the waitress on her shoulder and left the restaurant. The waitress had run away, but she came back, and this fellow is humble and what do you call it? No, I forgot the word again. Magnanimous. Yes, magnanimous. And he left the restaurant. Okay, I think that's enough for this video. I'm on page 79 now, and I will do the rest in different videos. I think it's going to go up to episode 7 if I'm not mistaken, but yeah, I don't mind. But I feel like I need to finish it as soon as possible, because at least then I won't be having this huge ass headache that I have now after reading that again. So what's a book that you have read in recent times that is something on these lines which you absolutely hated for the concepts it talks about, for everything for that matter, And let me know about such books in the comments below. I'll make sure to stay away from them. Or if you want me to make a reaction video to that or those books, then let me know as well, and I will break my head for you. So if you like this video, please like it and share it to spread the word. And if you like my content and would like to see more from me, don't forget to hit subscribe and click on the bell icon beside the subscribe button to get notified as and when I post new videos. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Until next time, keep reading, keep watching, and add melodrama to your life.